Welcome to the Breathe Believe podcast show where I am your host, Brianna, and I am so excited because today is a really big topic and it changed my freaking life. It was the game changer. And I wish I would have known these things sooner, and sometimes they fall upon our laps at just the right times, and sometimes it's a little too late, and that's okay. So for anyone that can benefit from this, make sure to share it with all of the beautiful souls in your life, your family, your friends, your coworkers, whoever, because this truth isn't just my truth. It's not just your truth. I love the concept that truth is available to anyone and it's not copyrighted. Truth is truth and it's owned by no one. And this is the truth about shame. Shame is a really, really big topic because before becoming aware or conscious, we act out in patterns and behaviors that we're not aware of. And shame is really actually the core driver behind it. So if you haven't watched my latest YouTube show, I actually went and did a whole episode on this because it was that important. And in YouTube, it's just Brianna Anderson. It is going over the entire journey I had to walk through to understand shame. Now, Brene Brown is incredible. Like, she is the authority on this one concept. And I am no necessarily authority of it, but I will tell you when you've had experiences, it really, really overrides reading a book and just sharing your journey. So I'm going to do that. I was married at 20 years old and I was in love, so I thought. And it was beautiful until having the wake up call one morning where something felt really wrong. Something was off. And for all of those people that know the gut check or intuition, that was the moment. Like I knew I was being cheated on. I knew that the loyalty wasn't there. And I knew the pornography was there. It was hidden, or it was tried to, be this little secret, but it always came to the surface. And that's what's so freaking insane, is that truth will always come to the surface. And the more that we try to hide it, the more energy that we waste and the more energy that's depleted. Like, I don't know if you're like me, but I love a good secret. And like, really, holding a secret can be hard because it's almost like you want to tell that person what you got them for Christmas, or you want to tell this person what you got them for your birthday. But at the same time, you need to hold on to the secret, right? Like, that's a different kind of secret than, hey, like, I'm actually cheating on my wife, or hey, I actually abused my kids at home, or hey, I actually got raped when I was little. And I share that openly because once you understand that shame is not you, then you're free. When you believe that the shame is a part of you, then you are in a prison of literal hell. And so I will share my story over and over and over and over. And for those that think I'm too much, you're freaking welcome, because that was a lie I told myself. And you really have to know that when you've gone through something deep, there's purpose in it. Not everyone views it that way, and that's okay. My intent is that you understand shame is a part of every single person's life. And when you just reconcile with the shame that you're holding, then you all of a sudden have compassion when a painful experience shows up or when someone else betrays you, because it's actually not personal. Let me tell you why. So at 20 years old, I was married, and pornography was a big part of our relationship in the sense that he had an addiction to it and would hide it from me. And then I became not a wife, but like an FBI investigator. And trust me, that did not feel good, because at the time I was already insecure and codependent. So I had body shame since I was little. I can almost remember, it's like women hit puberty and then they're exposed to social media, and then they're like looking at these Victoria's Secret models, and it's a very huge problem because now we're obsessed with an image that isn't necessarily attainable, nor do we actually desire it, but we get swept up into the idea that that's where worth comes from. So I had body shame. I had lots of shame around my body, and I'm a freaking fitness instructor. Like, I'm a freaking fitness coach, and I don't have abs. And so I would carry the shame of like, how can I teach other women this and be inspiring them when I'm still binge eating in the freaking middle of the night and then starving myself? And it was ugly. And you need to know that part, because when you understand how complex shame is in your life, and then when it interacts with another human who's also hiding their pile of crap, then it's really interesting because there's no space for a connection, okay? So the analogy is like having a full glass and you're pouring shame in there. Like, shame already exists in this glass. Like, your glass is full because you've got the shame from your body, or you've got the addiction to porn, or whatever your shame shows up in whether it's a drug addiction, whether it's, checking out, numbing out. We've all got our different ways to cope with the release of shame. What we don't know is that the addiction or the problem is not actually what we should be fighting, but the shame itself, because the only reason that someone would take those set of behaviors is because they were already into the belief and the voices that shame was playing in their head. Shame is like this gremlin. It's like this boogeyman in the dark in your freaking psyche, and it's telling you lies that aren't true. And when you're believing them, then you act on them, right? And I actually just went and did a whole Instagram post on this to break down the 7 steps before actually getting to the result. So I know this now, and I can explain it to you, but how I found it was even more tragic. So my husband had this pornography addiction that I didn't know about until I did. And then I had my set of shame, which was body beliefs and not being skinny and not being pretty and not being lovable. And that fed into my other shame, right? I had a dad who left at a very little age and didn't cope with that and became very codependent. So he would disconnect from me, whether it was because of porn or cheating or other shameful things that he was experiencing. And so then I would go to him trying to connect in this relationship that I thought was founded on truth and honesty and loyalty. And there was just no space for it because the cup was full. Like, I was trying to, create more space, and the container was already taken up with all of the shame, right? Like, if a glass is full, it spills over. And the only thing that was inside of that was shame. It's like, you can't have shame and love because it's just, they don't exist together. They're enemies. They're like, one's positive and one's negative. It's like the opposites of batteries. But what's really fascinating is when going through this experience with him, when I wanted to connect and there was no space for it, I had no idea that he already had so much shame from the action of pornography. In my head, I created a story that was like, oh, he's watching porn, which must mean that it's personal, right? Like, how many of you females do that? It's personal. He's disconnected from me. It's personal. He's not connecting with me. He's hiding something from me. I can feel it. And on the flip side of that, I'm making up the story, right? Like, I'm not pretty, and he's looking at these other chicks in porn because I'm not enough. And to be honest with you, for those that don't know my background, that's actually how I found fitness. Because I had believed, after listening to enough of my own shame and my own stories on what he was doing that for, it was like self-punishing me because I wasn't his resource, and he wasn't coming to me to numb out. He wasn't coming to me for his needs. He wasn't coming to me to be sexually intimate with. So what really I have so much compassion for is for the man that does struggle with that addiction. And let me tell you why. Because I've been up close to it. I've been married to it. And the pornography wasn't like the one L be all. It didn't end there. It actually was the gateway to lots of affairs. And this actually isn't even an attack on him at all, because I have the eyes now, not then, now, where I would have handled that situation. The old me would have handled that situation so much differently. I would have gone from an FBI cop to I'm going to shoot you, to get the F out of my house, you're cheating on me, to a different place of compassion. Like, wow, you have so much shame. You feel like you have to hide this from me. You're already fighting the shame gremlin yourself, right? Like, you already have your own boogeyman in your head and you're believing it. And then we get swept up into this cycle where I believed it was my job to save him. I really freaking believed that. I really thought that I was going to be like some kind of Superman and come pull him out of this cage that had freaking chains and hooks on his ankles. And he just was never going to be loyal to me. But I tried, and I wanted that so freaking bad. And if you haven't ever seen the meme where you're holding onto this rope and it actually hurts more to hold onto the rope than to just let go because you're actually burning your hands. You're sliding down this rope, you get like rope burn. That's what that felt like. Like, I was getting rope burn more and more that I tried to basically like put out the shame. And the more that I basically essentially poured my shame onto him, right? Like, you're freaking cheating and you're a crappy husband, and why are you watching porn? Like, just stop being stupid. Like, stop doing that. Like, I don't like it. It makes me feel not good enough, right? And so I'm over here dealing with my shame, and I dumped it on him. I dumped it on him every freaking single day. And I share that openly with you because if we're not self-aware of where shame shows up in our own lives, there's usually an experience that will show up in another person. And it looks like it's betrayal, and it looks like it's all these things. And I'm not justifying behavior by any means. I am not saying stay in a relationship because you should just have compassion and then, put your boundaries down. I'm saying be aware of where shame plays out in your life, because if you believe the shame and you're attached to it, then you don't have space to know the opposite of it. And I like to think of shame in its opposite way, and the opposite word of shame for me is innocence. Because when I don't have body shame, and I don't want to be like some Victoria's Secret model that I see on Instagram, I mean, I gotta have desires, but when I no longer pull my worth from that place, I'm innocent. Like, the facts are my body just is. It doesn't need to be super skinny. It can be chunky. It can have stretch marks. It can be in its natural form. And I'm no longer running by shame. So what's really awesome about that is it's freedom. So when you move from shame to innocence, it's really not a large gap. They're each other's opposites, but the reason the gap is there is because you're so identified up close to the shame that says, hey, dude, if someone saw your shame closet or your junk drawer right now, you would be unlovable. Like, shame is telling you to disconnect and isolate and hide and not to talk about it, because you believe shame is very convincing. Shame whispers and says, if someone saw what was in your junk drawer or your past or your shame closet and knew about your history, it would mean you were unlovable, you were not enough, and that you do not belong. And your ego, that part of you is going to fight like hell to make sure none of those are true, because let's be real, it would be really sad if you didn't belong. And that was actually true, that you weren't lovable. It would be really sad if I still believed that my first marriage ended because I wasn't enough, right? Like, that's what I was actually afraid of. I wasn't actually afraid of not being able to save his pornography addiction, not being able to wrestle his shame, because I didn't even know I had shame going on 5 years ago, right? Like, this is the new me. The old me would have been like, let's fist fight over this. Like, I will knock your ass out if you're cheating on me, right? Like, those armors and that shield, because his job was to protect the parts of him that said, hey, like, if your wife finds out you're cheating and that you're actually in this cycle of addiction, or you're in a cycle of not being able to pull yourself out of your pornography, because he would openly share, and most men do, by the way, they openly share, they don't feel better after. A lot of them actually feel like they carry more shame after it happened than before they originally thought about it. And again, this isn't about pornography. It's about the fact that an action was taken, and because the action was taken, we carry shame like it's some kind of badge of honor. And this entire podcast is giving you permission to put the badge of honor down, because there isn't one. Like, you're not a stronger person because you can carry more shame than the person next to you. And it's a hell of a lie if you believe that you're the only one that struggles with body image issues, or the only one that has a pornography addiction, or the only one with a drug issue. Like, if someone loved themselves enough to recognize that the action was taken and it is what it is, and they were just aware that shame would show up and convince them of things that weren't true, and just aware that shame was a part of every single person's life, then you would have compassion for yourself first. And what happens is then you start to move from the shame cycle, out of the cycle first, to now having awareness of like, oh, I had this really ugly thought and I choose not to act on it because I'm totally innocent. And I'm going to choose to love myself, and I'm going to talk about it. Like, have you ever wondered why people get sent to like 12-step programs, or they're told to go here because they're broken, and like, that's all cool. But I strongly believe that if people knew what shame actually was, they wouldn't feel broken, because they wouldn't be identified with it. Like, how many people say I'm a recovery blank, but it keeps them in the identity of the person that was those things, and the shame that they hold behind those actions gets to be kept alive. That's a freaking problem. So the way to reverse that is really simple. Like, here's the truth. You're not broken. You're not your freaking actions or your behavior. You just have a shame loop that's playing out. And a loop is something that shows up over and over and over and over again until you understand and gain the wisdom from the experience. Like, my first husband, sure, he wasn't loyal, and sure, he did things that were so hurtful, but my choice was to play into shame and to make him the reason why I didn't feel good enough and I didn't feel sexy, and it was his freaking fault that I was insecure and I had my own shame because of my own experience in my own past. Or I could just look at it from an objective of, holy crap, like you've already got a pile of crap going on and I've got my own too, and we both have baggage and we both have these things we're not so proud of. We're human. And when you can get down to understanding your humanity in that process, it's like a freaking game changer. And I share this with you hoping to inspire different action in you before you go attack your spouse or your partner or your friend or your kids, because they're already dealing with shame. They're already dealing with it. And you know, because they're isolating, they're not telling you the truth. They're hiding. The reason I use the cup being over flooded is because it's like there's no room for anything else to get in. Okay, so they're not hearing you because there's already another voice that's louder, and the shame is louder than the voice that's coming in, right? Like I could tell my husband, don't watch porn. Like it's not going to be good for your freaking mental health, whatever. And he's not going to hear me. Like his cup is full. He's already got his own crap going on. And so until he decides to empower himself, or until I decide to empower myself and to empty the shame, to unpack what's happening, to unravel and to pour out, then I really don't have enough room to have those kind of conversations. The reason I use the analogy of a junk drawer is because how many times have you gone to someone's house and there's always that one drawer, you're like, don't open that. It's like you got screwdrivers in there with like, freaking markers and mixed with, who knows, some things you found around the house, you just shove it in there. Like that's where you know where to find random chargers and then maybe some hot sauce you got from a restaurant. But that's the point, is like shame is like, it's nothing more than what wants to be kept hidden. And you have to bring light into that. And so the way to pour the freaking glass out, the way to stop hiding your junk drawer is to just look at it neutrally, like observe shame as part of the human experience and stop feeding it power. Like, okay, next time I go into a thought of wanting to binge eat and then run for 3 hours to try to look like some Victoria's Secret model because that's what my husband's watching on his porn, so it must mean I'm not good enough, so it must mean I need to look like them, because after all of that, it must mean that I'm enough because now he loves me. Now all of his attention is on me and not them. Like, that's exhausting. Like, you listening to that is probably exhausting. And if you went out of exhaustion, remember your innocence, okay? You have choice of the thoughts you listen to. So before you go shame someone else and go judge them, you should look at it and bring it home, because I know shame is running some part of your life, and it's really heavy for women who struggle with their body, who want to lose weight, who want to look like XYZ, who are struggling with binge eating, who have really, really restrictive diets, who are hopping from one thing to another because the belief is they're broken. And I'm saying, hell no. You're not broken. You have a shame loop. So now we're going to unpack your shame loop. We're going to empty that cup, and we're going to put new and better things inside of that container. And the container is you. And we're going to stop hiding and playing small, because your humanity is beautiful. And whatever you've been through really doesn't have to own you. So I'm going to give you permission to talk about it. Like, all those secrets you've kept hidden, if you don't dare go share it with someone, go journal about it. Like, okay, maybe you don't want to journal. Go freaking just get it out of you, because what doesn't have space to grow can't exist. It's like, okay, this is a good one. Shame is like a petri dish, and it grows because it has the perfect environment, and you're the environment. So as long as your thoughts are crappy and you're believing the lies inside of your head that say you're not enough, you're not lovable, you're not worthy, you should be XYZ, as long as you believe those things that shame is telling you, as long as you believe that boogeyman, that is the perfect environment for it to keep growing. It's in the dark, no one knows about it, so you think you're kept private, you think you're doing the right thing, you're like totally sure that if your parents don't find out, or if your spouse doesn't find out, or whoever you're trying to have connection with, if it's in the dark, then no one knows. What you don't know is that that's the perfect environment for it to grow. And what happens when you grow something in a petri dish, it's going to break off and form more of the same thing. And when you're living with a hell of a lot of shame, like, hello, there's a reason you don't know joy, because you have an environment that's not set up for receiving beautiful experiences, because you're still in the belief that you need to keep growing the thing that sucks. Shame sucks. Like, we're thankful for its experiences, but it blows. It's a low blow to who you actually are. It's a low blow to your self-confidence, your self-esteem, and your self-worth. And when you start believing that, like, do you really take behavior actions that make you feel good and make you feel alive? Hell no. You do the opposite, and then you can't get out of it. It is a vicious cycle. So I love unpacking those things because it's not the circumstance we need to attack. It's not your relationship or because of your brother or your past and the childhood memory of this. Like, you're not just stuck in pain. But what we need to do is focus on where the loop is happening so that we can disrupt it, wake you the freak up, and then give yourself compassion and be like, oh, hey, shame, not today. Like, oh, hey, shame, there you are. That's awesome. Hey, how's it going? Get out, right? Like, it's the awareness of saying, hey, I recognize you. You're here again. You obviously want to be seen. I see you. Now move. It's taking control of your psyche. It's also taking control of who you are. And here's why someone would want to unpack shame. Because now I can hear you wondering why I go through all the hard work of digesting what's actually happening. Well, you can't have thriving relationships when the one with yourself or that same environment is dark. Like, dark repels light. They don't coincide together. They can teach each other experiences, but unless you want to keep learning the hard way, you're going to have to embrace the fact that your environment, your internal environment, has to change. That's your thoughts. That's your feelings. That's your actions. That's your pattern. That's your beliefs. That's getting to the core of it. I'm not here to trim off a branch of your tree and be like, yep, looks good. Yep, we patched the problem for a while. Here's a Band-Aid. Go home. No, I want to fix the freaking root, because if we fix the root, then something new comes alive. And the reason you want to go through that entire process is because you can't go where you're going unless you go through it. And really, it's really exciting because it's not heavy like it sounds. It's actually really simple. It's like you can laugh, where before you're like a victim and you're like, oh my gosh, my husband's cheating on me, right? It's so easy to fall in victim mode. But that's not going to serve you either. It's like they're brothers. Like the victim and the shame, it's like they're like brothers. They actually feed off of it, right? Shame's like, I got her today. And then the other bully comes in and it's like, oh, well, she's a victim for now. You know, she doesn't totally take on the shame, but now she's just poor me. And it's like crazy that like these ghosts are happening, but they're real. Because if they weren't, we would all just choose better actions and be better people and just grow, and we wouldn't struggle and we wouldn't hurt. But when you can bring it home, it helps you relate to people that are going through hard things. And it really brings in a whole lot of love. Like, guys, going through 2 divorces in my life after so much shame and not figuring out why I kept attracting the same things and the same men and the nasty experiences, I can say my heart has so much more compassion and so much more love and joy. And I'm able to swing on the opposite side of the pendulum now and experience so much laughter. My belly hurts. And if you're listening to this like, yeah, right, whatever, it's because you only have one choice. You've only chosen shame. You're not willing to change. You don't want to change, or clearly you would. And if you just don't know how, then this is your call to action now. Because there's people willing to teach you these things, and having awareness is just the first step. And the why, the bigger purpose, the transcendent purpose to it is to have the opposite, because you want to have your innocence. You want to have choice. You want to have freedom. You want to feel loved and abundant and secure and rich and thriving, but you cannot do that with the environment that is supporting shame and guilt and victim. Like, you just can't do that. So I'm excited to help you dive deep into really what you're going to create next. Not what crap is behind you. And if that needs aired out, awesome. Let's air it out like dirty laundry. And who cares who hears it? Because the more that share, the more that benefit and the more that grow. Like, stories are meant to be told because it inspires the listener on the other side who hasn't gone through it. So I'm inspiring you to change because you're worth it. And because you can, and because your story is going to just perpetuate someone else's journey on healing, and someone else is going to need to hear the message. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a plumber or if you're not a woman and you've never been divorced, because you have a mindset. And my goal is to not let your mind be set. I don't want your mind set. And I don't want you to believe that you think you know everything, because once we're in that space, oh boy, that's a trap, because we're not open, we're closed. You know what happens when people are closed? They go back into the pattern of isolation, disconnection, and not trusting. So I'm here to offer you a new way because I've struggled so much. I don't want others to have to feel that. If you're already feeling it, my job is not to rescue you. My job is to empower you, to give you really freaking life-changing tools that will set you free. And you deserve to know that. You deserve to be happy regardless of what's happened in the past. I do have a discovery call that I will leave in the link below. I also have, like I said, an Instagram that breaks this down more simple because sometimes it will just smack you, right? Like we go through some patterns and we're like, how the hell did I get here? But it happens and you're worthy. So I'm excited. Until next time, kick shame out of the freaking way, be aware and choose to honor your innocence, because until this point, if you knew better, you would have, right? It's not like you want to suffer, but we have to choose to want to grow. We have to choose to want to disconnect from shame. So when it shows up, just let it go. Like, hey bro, you're here. No, you're not welcome. Out. Like, that's not who I am. That's not who I am. Bye. Right? Like I'd get the temptation all the time. Like, just fight with him. It's so tempting. Just fight with him. Tell him why he's a piece of crap. Tell him why he's, put more shame onto him. And it's like, we ain't doing that, because it doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve him. Like, rise above that crap, right? So I also have a website. It's BriMarie.com, BriMarie.com, and go click the button, I Dare to Rise. That means a lot of things. It's rising above your circumstances. It's rising above the old identity and leaving behind the things that no longer serve you and no longer make you happy. And that's a really freaking scary thing to do. But if you're courageous, say I. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous week. Bye, guys.